Ever thought a simple Instagram follow could lead to a terrifying nightmare? Or that a harmless DM could turn into a real-life horror story? In today's video, we're diving into 3 bone-chilling tales where social media interactions take a dark and twisted turn. From a mysterious car in the dead of night to a haunting stranger breaking into an apartment, these stories will make you rethink every like, comment, and message you've ever received. Stick around, because the ending is something you won't see coming. I'm sure most of you use Instagram these days. Whether you have a big following or none at all, it's just something most of society uses. Apparently, the app has over 1 billion active users, which I find insane. I had about 300 followers at the time this happened. I live in a rural town, so I guess that's a lot for people around here. We don't know a lot of people outside of our districts. One night, while watching a movie, my phone vibrated. It said a girl named Holly started following me on Instagram. So I opened up Instagram to check out her profile. She was this really gorgeous blonde girl with like 5,000 followers. She had about 50 pictures, all spaced out realistically as far as the dates they were posted. Usually when I got followers like this, I'd check to make sure they're legit. She got like 600 likes per picture and a bunch of comments from guys I assumed she didn't even know, leaving hearts, drooling emojis, and whatever. Then I kid you not, as I was going through her page before I even followed her back, she DM'd me. She said, "Hey, I honestly don't do this a lot, but I thought you're really cute, to be honest. And not to sound like a douche, but I am pretty fit, and I've been told I'm pretty attractive. I have had some girls DM me in the past, so I followed her back and DM'd her the same, saying, 'I think you're cute too.' Then we went on to have a pretty long conversation, and it was going really well. We talked about fitness, what high school we went to, and honestly, it was great. She gave me her number, and we quickly got to setting up a meetup for the next night, which was a Friday night. We agreed we'd meet at a popular bar called Lucky's for a couple of drinks. So Friday night, as the nerves were starting to kick in, I prepared myself for this little date. Never had I gone on a date straight from an Instagram DM, but this girl was downright gorgeous. I drove down to Lucky's and sat in my car in the parking lot, awaiting her call or text to let me know she was there. Eventually, she did text me, but not to let me know she was there. She said her car broke down and she needed a ride. I had to reread it a couple of times to be sure I was reading it correctly. I tried calling her, but she didn't accept the call. She texted me, describing her location. I didn't answer just yet. I took one more good look at her Instagram profile, and it was definitely real. She had friends tagged in her pictures, commenting on her pictures, so I knew I wasn't getting catfished. I texted back, "On my way," and off I went.
A road trip, hey?
I drove down the quiet side roads towards the location she described. I made it,
Birds?
but it was a weird spot for her car to have broken down. I saw a car pulled off to the side of the road next to the woods. Actually, there were woods on either side of this road. The car had its hood open, so it had to be her. I tried calling, but it didn't go through. I looked at my phone and realized I had no bars here. I parked my car on the other side of the road and got out. As I walked over to her car, which was a black Nissan Altima, I realized I couldn't see inside of it at all. The windows were completely tinted black. I lightly tapped on the window and waited. No one opened the door, so I walked around to the front hood just to see if she had attempted to do any work on the engine. As far as I could tell, she hadn't. I was losing patience. I texted her, "Where are you? I'm about to leave." As I walked back to the side of the car, I noticed the driver's side window had now been cracked down. I knew for a fact they were all shut a minute ago. I called Holly's name, knowing someone had to be in the car now. I walked a little closer to get a look inside, and suddenly, someone's fist reached out from the window, and they started signaling for me to come closer with their pointer finger. I felt my stomach drop, realizing it was definitely a man's hand. I told him in a shaky voice, "Get lost," as I ran back to my car. I sped away and made the first right turn off the street I could because of my constant glances in the rearview mirror. I eventually spotted a car with its lights off, trailing behind me. I thought to do the same. I turned off the lights on my car and started making as many turns as possible. Eventually, I did lose the car. When I got home, the profile had already blocked me, but I found out at a later date that the profile was, in fact, real. But that the girl in the pictures was hacked by some creepy dude. I wasn't even the only guy who was a victim of whatever plan he had. I just hope everyone else was as fortunate as me. I have an Instagram account with 100 followers. I had it set to public so anybody could come onto my page, look at my pictures, like them, and comment on them. So oftentimes I'd get people I didn't know liking my pictures and commenting on them. But one person stood out from the rest. I remember his first comment on one of my photos. It was a beach picture with one of my friends, so I was wearing a swimsuit. I had like 11 comments on it, but one of them was from somebody I didn't know. It was 3 flame emojis. I clicked the man's profile. He had 3 pictures, 80 followers, and he was following over 200 people, including me. All 3 of his pictures were selfies, which didn't look right, given that he looked like he was 40 or 50. I didn't mind, though. It's expected to happen to a certain extent. However, after that photo, it started becoming a thing where the man would just comment on every new photo I posted. One comment just said, "Hot." This one was a little creepier, honestly. But then 2 days later, after posting my next picture, the man didn't comment this time. Instead, he sent me a direct message. It said, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you that you're beautiful, even though I'm like 30 years older than you, lol." I responded, "LOL, thanks," which I'm surprised I did. Most people would have probably ignored it. He got back to me with, "I would kill to meet a girl like you." I replied 10 minutes later with, "Thanks," hoping he wouldn't say anything else. But he got back to me with, "Maybe one day I'll meet you, lol." I didn't reply to that one. I found everything about the guy creepy, but I didn't block him. I figured, why get rid of a free follow and likes? I hadn't heard from him until I posted a new photo. This one of my sister, Carol, and me in front of our house. The man quickly commented on the photo saying, "You and your sister are so cute." Now it was becoming too much for me, so I removed the comment and blocked him. Later in the day, Carol and I were home alone. I was in the bathroom doing my nails, getting ready to go out. I noticed a car I didn't recognize pull up in front of the house through the window, but only the front. The rest of the car was covered by the bush that separates our front yard from the neighbors. The headlights shut off, but I didn't see anyone step out of the car. I took note of this only because we're on a dead-end block, so we don't get any through traffic. I shut the blind just because I was on full display. My sister was in her room on her laptop. When the time came for me to leave, I didn't bother saying goodbye. Usually we just text each other that we're going out anyway. I went to my car, looking at the mysterious car, which revealed it to be a Maxima. The tinted windows, mixed with the darkness of the night, made it impossible to see inside of it. I got in my car, did a 3-point turn, and drove down the one-sided street to the nearest main road. I went to a social gathering at a friend's house. I wouldn't call it a party, but a decent amount of drinking went on. I cut myself off a little early since I knew I had to drive. But still, I'll admit, and I don't condone this kind of behavior whatsoever. I was pretty tipsy when I was driving home. It was only a 5-minute drive, though. I pulled up to my house, and the first thing I noticed was the Maxima still parked out front. I needed to know whose car that was. I passed it slowly, but still couldn't see inside of it. I parked and texted a few friends that I got home safe before stepping outside and walking up to my house. I was eyeing that car parked out front all the way up to the front door, where I dropped my keys, at which point, for whatever reason, I was too scared to bend over and look for them. Instead, I rang the doorbell like 5 times, so my sister would answer quickly. She never answered the door, though, so I was forced to get on my knees and look for the keys. They actually landed right on the doormat. I opened the door and went inside pretty swiftly, taking one last look at the Maxima before shutting the door. It was past midnight, but my sister was usually still up this late, so I dizzily but quietly walked up the stairs and down the hall towards her door. When I opened it, the bed was empty. I had to check the bathroom, but that was empty too. I got very nervous very quickly. I called her name as I ran around the house like a lunatic, checking every room, but she wasn't there. I called her a few times, but it went straight to voicemail. I then received a text back saying, "Just got your call, what's up?" I called her again, and it went straight to voicemail. I had the realization that the text might not have been from my sister. I then had the even worse realization that she might be in that car outside, so I ran out the front door in my socks towards the Maxima. But as I got halfway down the walkway, the car started, sped down the road, and turned the corner out of sight. I ran back inside to get my shoes and coat, and I called 911 while following the direction the car went. Unfortunately, though, by the time I got to the end of the block, the car was nowhere to be seen. I made a police report, giving the police the plate number that I memorized, but the car was reported stolen, so whoever was driving it was using a stolen vehicle. It was by far the scariest night of my life, and my sister was missing for 4 hours before the police informed us that she was at a nearby friend's house. She was apparently there the whole time, but her phone was off. I never found out if that was really her texting me or not. All we knew was that it wasn't the owner of that stolen car. A good number of people my age have an Instagram account. I was 19 years old, living in my first apartment when this happened. My username was something stupid. I don't even remember. I had only posted a couple of pictures, and I only had like 40 followers. One of those followers was a man named Eric Adelstein. I didn't know the name, so of course I didn't know who it could be. I asked some of my friends if it was their friend or someone's friend of a friend, but no one knew. The man's profile picture was of some older, creepy-looking guy with a gray mustache, and his profile had just one picture of his face. He was following, I think, over 100 people. I didn't mind. In fact, I thought it was funny. It started with this one night that I was out at a small get-together with some of my friends, including my best friend, Sam. I got back home late and went straight to bed. When I woke up, I went to check my phone for any new texts, snaps, or Instagram notifications. On Instagram, I had a DM from that guy, Eric Adelstein. It said, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you that you're beautiful." I stood there reading it, thinking, okay, weird. I didn't even respond to it. I just put my phone down and started my day. I came back later to find another DM from the guy, and it was a wave emoji this time. Again, I didn't respond. He followed up with another DM saying, "Sorry, I just think you're really pretty, and I don't know how to say it." The guy was starting to annoy me, but I still didn't answer. I figured eventually he'd just get the hint. I went to post a new picture that night, and when I checked the picture to see if anyone commented on it, I saw his comment. It said, "Cutie." The guy was some creep, and I wasn't having any more of it. I decided to block him. It wasn't until a few days later, when I was hanging out with Sam at my place, that she brought to my attention that the man had followed her on Instagram and DM'd her, saying hi. She thought it was funny, and I told her to just block him. That night, I was working the overnight shift at the local hospital, where I was a receptionist. I sat at the desk all night, checking people in or helping people at the front desk. There was this one woman who had come into the hospital late that night. I watched her sit in the waiting area for a while before being called in by one of the doctors. I didn't pay her any mind after that. I was extremely tired by the time my shift ended, so I called an Uber to get me home, and the Uber dropped me off at about 2:00 a.m. I walked up to my apartment and quietly unlocked the door, stepping inside slowly to avoid making too much noise. It was pitch black in my apartment, as it should have been. But then I saw something ahead of me. At the end of the hall, there was a man standing at my bedroom door, trying to open it. I went to turn around, but my keys jingled in my pocket as I did so. The man turned around and sprinted towards me. I sprinted to the door, screaming at the top of my lungs like a lunatic. I ran out the door, and the man followed me. I ran as fast as I could down the stairs, hearing the man closing in behind me. He grabbed my arm, pulling me back, but I screamed and struggled until I managed to get free. I ran down the rest of the stairs, screaming for help as I ran. One of the people who lived on the first floor opened their door to see what was going on. I yelled at them to call the cops. I ran outside, and so did the man. But when he saw I wasn't alone anymore, he took off in the opposite direction. I called 911 and told the police what happened. When they arrived, I found out from them that the man had entered my apartment by breaking a window in my bedroom. The worst part was that when I checked Instagram a couple of days later, I saw that the man's profile was deactivated, meaning he could have made a new one and still be out there. I never found out who he was, and I ended up moving out of that apartment and in with a friend for a while after that.